Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Thanks for joining me today. I am back again with another layout for the Cut Shop. For today's layout, I am going to be using the Hero Up cut file, and I do have a Cricut Design Space tutorial. So I've already sliced out the image that I want to use from the cut file, and you can see it there on the design screen. And I am going to be using the contour feature today. I want to use that starburst shape, but I want to shrink down the letters within the starburst to make more room for my photos. So I've copied and pasted the image to create two on the design screen, and then I'm going to go over to the Edit tab and I'm going to enlarge this to 11.5. Once that is enlarged, I'm going to go back over to the Layers tab and I'm going to click on the Contour button, and that is going to allow me to hide those letters. So I'm just placing my mouse on top of the letters and clicking, and now you can see that it's deleted the letters and now it's just a solid shape. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the second image, except I am going to delete the starburst shape and the line that is underneath the word POW because I only want the letters. So now that the letters are separate from the starburst, I want to reduce the space in between each letter. So I'm inserting a square and I'm going to slice apart the letters so I'm able to group them closer together. So I'm going to repeat that same step for the star and the W. I'm going to insert a square, place it on top of the letter, then highlight the square and those remaining two letters and click on the slice button, and that is going to separate the remaining letters. So now that the letters are separated, I'm able to position them as close together as I like. So I'm just going to eyeball it and reduce the space between each letter until I think it looks right. Once I think I have the spacing the way that I want, I'm going to drag a box around all three letters and hit the Attach button under the Layers tab. This is going to allow me to enlarge all three letters at the same time so they're all the same size, which is something that I want. If you're not happy with the space between each letter after you have attached them and enlarged them, you can detach them either by right-clicking or by going back over to the Layers tab and click Detach. I know I want the starburst shape to be 11.5 inches, and I've already set the size of the starburst. So I'm going to drag those letters over to the starburst just so I can position them on top and just get my final arrangement on how I want them looking. So I'm just going to spend a little time arranging those letters the way that I want them to be, moving them closer together, changing the size. I am going to attach them all together, and I am going to rotate them slightly. I am planning on positioning my photos on the bottom right-hand side of that starburst, so I want to leave a little extra room between the letters and where the photos are going to be placed on the layout. So one thing to keep in mind is you cannot slice more than 2 layers at one time. So because I had those letters attached together, it was more than 2 layers. There was actually 4 with the starburst shape, the P, the star, and the W. So I had to go over and right-click and detach those letters and then slice them out individually through the starburst. So the starburst shape has come to the front and the letters are hidden back behind the starburst shape, which isn't a big deal. I'm still able to see all of the letters on that right-hand panel. So I'm just clicking on each individual letter, holding down the Shift key and clicking on the starburst shape, and then selecting the slice feature under the Layers tab. So now that each letter is sliced, I'm going to move the starburst, and now you can see that the letters are positioned exactly the way that I want on the starburst, and we are ready to send it to the cutting mat. So this layout is a hot mess in the beginning. I have this white cardstock that's covered in acrylic paint and gesso and just lots of random things. I had used it for a previous project and it didn't end up working out, so it's just kind of been laying in my stash. But I thought it would be great because it had the colors and kind of had this textured look to it, and so I thought it would work out great for what I was going to be using it for. The cut file, I just cut on a random piece of pattern paper. I'm only using it as a mask. I just want to highlight that starburst shape and then the letters within the starburst. But the problem is there was so much gesso and acrylic paint and things on there. I had a hard time getting the color shine to dry. So after I removed the mask, there isn't quite as much definition in the letters and in the starburst shape that I was going for. So I thought I would try adding more color shine to the layout. So I'm going to add some black color shine, thinking that it'll give a little bit more definition for the letters and the starburst shape. But the same thing happens. I can't get it to dry. So as you can see here, I was checking to see if it was dry. It wasn't dry. It smudged. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll try to make it look like I did that on purpose. So I take a paper towel and I'm smudging it around, and I thought at first it might be okay. And then the more I looked at it, the more I just felt like it looked like a dirty mess. So I keep going with it, trying to decide if I want to keep it. I knew I wanted to add some hand stitching to the layout, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to commit to hand stitching on a piece of paper that I wasn't 100% in love with. So I do end up deciding to swap it out and to just use a piece of white cardstock with no primer on it. So there's no gesso on this new sheet of white cardstock that I'm going to be using. I'm just going to spray the color shine directly onto the cardstock. So I'm liking this much better. I am going to add the hand stitching using some black embroidery floss, and I love how that turns out also. It adds a lot of definition and a lot of texture to the cardstock, which turned out exactly the way that I wanted it to, which you're going to see here in just a second. You can also see the shine from the color shine, and I love how that turned out also. Next, I'm going to add some black color shine just for some splatters, and I did decide that I'm also going to cut a transparency and lay it on top of the white area of that starburst just to add a little bit more visual interest. I cut it the same size as I did the mask and just positioned it right on top of the embroidery floss, and now I'm just stapling it down. So once I have that secured to the cardstock, I am going to start working on my photo cluster, and I use a lot of products from my stash. I'm not even sure of any of the labels other than the paper that I'm bringing in right there. That is from an older Close to My Heart collection. It is from the Superhero collection, I think is what it's called, and I'm just going to add it directly underneath that acetate film strip. The photos that I'm going to be using for the layout are 2 photos that I printed from my phone on my Instax printer. And I've had the Instax printer since Christmas. I think I got it a couple years ago, but I've never used it, mainly because I hate the photos that my phone takes. They're terrible. They're grainy, they're blurry, they're dark. They just never turn out very well. So I haven't really had a chance to use the Instax printer, but I had these 2 photos on my phone from, I think it was 2012 or 2013. I'll have to check the date on the layout, but my son had gotten this Hulk mask and these Hulk hands for Christmas, and I just happened to catch 2 photos where he had his fist up in the air and then when he was acting like he was coming at me, and it looks like in the photo he actually hit me, but he didn't. But I just loved the body language of the photos, but like I said, they were dark and they were grainy and they were kind of blurry, so I hadn't scrapbooked them yet because I wasn't sure how to get them onto paper, because they were not a very good quality. So I thought maybe if I printed them with the Instax printer and they were printed in a smaller format, that it would be less noticeable that they weren't super great quality photos. And I'm really happy with how it turns out. I think that the Instax prints added a lot of character to the layout, and it's definitely something I'm going to use again. I just have to find the right photos to print using the Instax printer. Okay, so back to the layout. I've added a few more embellishments. I brought in another chipboard film strip, and then I also brought in a striped sticker. It just has a lot of the colors in the shirt that my son is wearing, so I just thought it matched really well. And then I have another acetate piece. It's like a scallop border piece that I'm going to place directly on top of that striped sticker. I also have a couple of photo corners that I'm going to add. They are red with the yellow stars. I'm going to place one on the top right and then the bottom left of the photos just for a little bit of symmetry. Next, I'm going to work on adhering the photos to the layout. I did add some pop dots to one of the photos just to make it even with that chipboard film strip that I have there. I was careful where I added the liquid adhesive. I wasn't sure if the liquid adhesive got on the photo portion of the Instax print, if it would warp the photo. So I only added it along the edges where it was a little bit more rigid. Once I have the photos down, I am going to add a few more embellishments. I do add a flare button that says "It's a Boy Thing," and that is from Feed Your Craft. I am going to bring in an acetate star and then add that flare button that has the star on it also. So once I have those things adhered down, this layout is complete. I do add the date stamp off camera, and I am going to leave you in just a moment with some still shots. But before I do that, I am going to bring up the discount code that is available at the Cut Shop for the month of August. So if you have been eyeing some cut files, now is the time to get them. Here are those still shots, and I will be back again soon. Thanks for watching.